Welcome to Module 15. We're in Chapter 11, the Cause and Effect Essay, Academic Achievement. And first half of this chapter was focused on the multiple causes of one single effect. For example, what were the four causes of obesity, of growing fat, too fat? Right, so there were many causes, and the one effect was obesity. Now we're changing gears, and on page 239 we're going to talk about single cause with multiple effects. So for example, if you're eating too much sugar, then what are the effects? And you can see them listed there on page 239. Blood sugar imbalance, tooth decay, hyperactivity in children, and weight gain. So please open up your module and let's look at page 239, exercise 10. And at the bottom of the page you just have two questions to answer. What is the topic sentence, and then does the paragraph clearly explain how eating too much sugar can result in tooth decay? So this is an example of the type of paragraph if you're going to write about a cause, an effect essay that's focused on effects. So the first one about how to get fat, that was on causes. This one is on the effects. So you might write an essay and discuss three effects of excessive consumption of sugar. And you can see that how they structured the paragraph. They basically explained the topic sentence. One of the major effects of eating sugar is a high incidence of tooth decay. So they explained that fully in about seven or eight more sentences. That's a good model of how to write about one of the effects. If you look on page 240, exercise 11, I'm asking you to just pick one topic from questions 1 through 3. Don't focus on 4, please. And then just choose one of the effects that you come up. You're going to brainstorm a number of effects for question 1, 2, or 3, and then tell me one of the effects, and then write at least 3 sentences to explain the effect more fully with details. And then on page 240 there's also exercise 12, and I don't want you to write an outline, but just to simply look at and find out, are these immediate causes or are they remote causes? Immediate means they happen almost exactly when the cause comes, or do they happen actually later on, and that's called a remote effect, and it's a little bit later on. It's not immediate. Those are just opposite. So on page 241, exercise 13, you're not only going to talk about immediate and remote causes, but actually, are these effects going to be negative or positive? So effects can be immediate or remote, or they can be as well positive or negative effects, and I already gave you number 1 and number 6. If you look at exercise 14 on page 241, 242, it wants you to just read the essay here about do it, and then to answer the questions and write an outline. Question number 5 is an outline, and I just want you to, I left the ellipses open, so to write in the word where you see the blue ellipses. So answer those 5 sections of that one. And then exercise 17 on page 243 to 245. I'd like you to read Upsetting the Balance of Nature, and this is, if you look a little bit farther back on page 243, this is an example essay of a causal chain. If there's one cause, there's going to be another effect, and that effect is going to bring another cause, and that cause can bring another effect, and then a cause and an effect, a cause and an effect. And so that's what's happening in this essay on page 244 and 245, and I'm asking you to again answer the 5 questions, and the last one again I gave you the outline, and please fill in the words after the blue ellipses. The next exercise is not in the book, but it has to do with writing an introductory paragraph. And if you look at page 247, you can see at the top of that sample paragraph that there's a quotation. And there's actually a quotation, and then separately there's a second sentence that explains who wrote it and where she wrote it in a book. Right? Rachel Carlson wrote this statement in her book, Silent Spring. So that's one way to put a quote into your introduction paragraph. And if you look at page 248, they didn't put it at the very beginning, but they put it in the middle of the introduction paragraph, and you can see that they introduced it by saying, as Joey Adams famously said, and note that there's a comma there before the quotation marks, and then the quote, and that the quote finishes right with a period and then quotation marks. So I'd like you to make note of that and to write it the same way in your introductory paragraph. If you actually put the introduction, the author's name at the beginning. And then paragraph 3 there, here's another way to do it, right? Michael Grunwald has said, and then specifically go into a quote. I would have put a comma there, but in this case they didn't. They just went directly into the quote. And you can see that the quote again ends with a period and a comma. They don't have a specific example of putting a quote, telling who the author and the place that the author was writing, or just the author, after the quotation. And this is possible, and think about the verbs that you would use to attach the author information to the quote itself. So I'm asking you just to write one sentence with each of these quotes. And the next exercise is an editing exercise. Right, exercise 21. You want to look for, and I've already pointed out, the blue words or phrases need to be changed. So there's one specific transition for cause and effect that needs to be changed. There are 2 subject-verb agreement problems, 4 article problems, right, and then 2 conditional problems. So you can look above the exercise or back on page 249 as well to get clues about how to solve those editing problems. And this is module 15, so it's one of the odd modules, so it means you're going to be writing an essay. So please look at the instructions for the essay. The only thing that's really different here is that you need to put in a relevant quotation, and I'm asking you to just put it in as the first sentence in your introduction to give a little bit of background information about your topic, and then to write a thesis statement. And you want to make sure that your thesis statement is specifically uses the word causes or the word effect. So if you look at the possible questions, and I'm only asking you to do or to pick from questions 1 through 5. I don't want you to do number 6, please. So if you look, for example, at question 1, write about a person who has been successful, focusing on the causes of their success. For example, one of the famous people in the world right now is Donald Trump. And what are 3 causes of his success? Right? He inherited a lot of money. He turned it in. He multiplied it by investing in properties, mostly in New York. That's one way that he became very successful. He also went on TV. He was on a TV show for quite a while as the main character in the Apprentice program. And another cause that made him successful was running for president and finally winning just recently. So you would want to point out that the causes of Donald Trump's success are, and then give those 3 causes. Right? And then number 3 actually goes down to effects. So what are the effects of watching television? Well, if you look over on page 240, they already give you, there's 8 effects of watching too much television. And you can pick 3 of those and write and explain about those specific effects if you want to focus on question number 3. So I've given you an outline to fill in the blanks, and make sure that you have at least 2 specific examples for your effects. You can explain your causes or your effects, but make sure to give examples, specific examples. And then if you look in my instructions, I noticed that a number of people in our class have not really caught on to how I want you to write your conclusion paragraphs. To restate your thesis statement first, it's number 3 in the directions for writing this paper. Right? To in the first sentence, restate or paraphrase your thesis. Then in one sentence, tell why the topic is important. Right? This topic is important because. Right? For example, with watching too much television, this topic is important because many people in the world waste a lot of time watching television, unnecessary programming, and it has negative effects on their life. Right? So, and then the last one is to make a recommendation. Right? And so if you're going to write about TV, I recommend that people shut off the TV and go outside and exercise, or if they have to stay inside, they can read a book or interact, actually talk with someone face to face. Right? So there's different recommendations. I look forward to receiving essay for Module 15. Again, make sure that you check your outline and your essay with Hamid before you send it to me. And I'll see you in Module 16.